Playing on a Budget is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the best Magic the Gathering singles and sealed retailer on the internet, GatheringMagic.com, your #1 source for Magic the Gathering news and content, and RogueDeckBuilder.com, my personal channel filled with innovative and entertaining Magic the Gathering rogue brews. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with match number 4 with the Devastating Whack deck. Yes, we like to play first, and this is another one of those really iffy hands. We do have a first turn experiment 1. I'm going to keep it as it can just explode with the Burning-Tree Emissary, and we actually do have at least some play with the Lightning Bolt. Might end up, yeah, we just have to hit another land, 18 lands. Actually, statistically, we're probably in bad shape with this. Just gonna go grab a Stomping Grounds. And experiment 1. And then next turn, ooh, Flagstones. Oh, that ends up being the most beautiful draw ever, because when we can go Sacred Foundry, and we will go Burning-Tree Emissary, which evolves it into the Striker. Jeez, wouldn't actually be bad to splash white, or not splash, but the Thalia's Lieutenant here with all these humans. He's going to path it, which is okay. We get a mountain. And unless this is Soul Sisters, we should be in great shape. So he's going to kill the Flagstones, but this means that he only has 1 mana for this turn. Because oh, he did, no, he floated it. So that's fine. So Flagstones can go. And it's a Voice, which I will bolt off. Ugh, that's actually very obnoxious. I actually don't think I bolt it. I think we just kick a Bushwhacker. And he can just block one of them. And so he'll go for the Striker. I'm actually really okay with that, because it still does damage, puts him down to a 10. He gets an elemental token. Kitchen Finks would be the worst case scenario here. And it is a Kitchen Finks. So we just have to push through the best of our ability. I think that we just take out the elemental token or the Kitchen Finks. Of course not a draw. I'd like to... I could actually keep up the Bushwhacker. No, we need to bolt off the elemental token. And I think I do just kick. He'll block the Burning Tree. Go back up to an 8. And see if the other Kitchen Finks... If another Kitchen Finks would stabilize him even more. Ghost Quarters. He's a little bit flooded. A Restoration Angel would be tough here. I debated whether it be a Lightning Bolt or Lightning Bolt the Kitchen Finks, but then we would have lost an additional creature from the token. Atarka's Command would be probably the best thing we could draw into. Ooze is actually really good because he can exile a card and gain some life. Bolt would be the best thing I can draw into. Or possibly Devastating Summons. That is not a good card. Longer this goes on, the worse for us. So I'm just going to crack it. And get a Dryad Arbor. Pass the turn. I guess we could have done that end of turn. See if he Ghost Quarters my Dryad Arbor. He does have 2 activations on the Scavenging Ooze. So this is Hatebears. This is going to be kind of a difficult matchup. We just have to race the Ooze. And Kitchen Finks again. Yeah, that's backbreaking. And there's the Devastating Summons we did want. So I can make 2 5/5s. Is that enough to push through? Or I could just make... Because he actually can exile 2 cards. This actually... Yeah, this is another land creature, so that actually works with the Scavenging Ooze. So maybe I just keep everything... I just keep a Dryad Arbor back. And make 2 4/4s. Or possibly I just bait him into another attack and keep this in my hand. I think that's the better play. If we find another Bushwhacker, we can out of just nowhere. Possibly swinging for lethal. So he's going to come with the Ooze. Hopefully it's not a 3rd Kitchen Finks or a Flicker Wisp here. Hierarch. And a Burning-Tree Emissary. Well, can we last one more turn? I think we can. And see if we can get another Bushwhacker. Now I do have to block, which will throw a Bushwhacker in front of the Ooze. And you can gain 2 life here, putting him back up to 14. Mountain is really bad. I mean, in all honesty, we can play the 6/6. He can get above a 6/6 with his Ooze, though. Well, here goes nothing. I think we'll just tap everything. This makes 2 5/5s. Just keep back 1. Sacred Foundry or Stomping Grounds. Oops, somehow kept 2. This still does make him up to a 4/4 though. Yeah, I guess that's good because we can get another Bushwhacker. Evolves him twice. Swing in with the Experiment 1. And he's got a Restoration deal. Yep, that's going to be too much for us to deal with. Alright, so Flame Slash will come in. I think that all of it, the Searing Blazes, are really good versus this match. Possibly even the Forked Bolts. I do want... Atarka's Command is fine. I think that cards like Foundry Street Denizen are actually quite weak in this one. I'm going to take out the Foundry Street Denizens. This will give us room for Gut Shots and Searing Blazes. Maybe I just bring in the entire package of the burn cards. I still like the Devastating Summons in this particular matchup. Flinthoof Boars. I don't want to go down too low, but Mutagenic Growth I can take out for the gut shots. And I still think Fork Bolts are fine, though, because it can split damage. Possibly not as many Searing Blazes, because they don't hit as many cards as I prefer. Rancor is awesome in this matchup. Kird Ape is still good. Lightning Bolt is still good. Flinthoof Boar, Reckless Bushwhacker. The Dryad Arbor is still fine. Maybe it is Atarka's command that I don't want quite as many. Or maybe I'm valuing these. No, Fork Bolts and Gut Shots I think are the ones that I want over Searing Blazes. Flame Slash is fine too, because it kills that early creature. So, in all honesty, I probably want all the Flame Slashes, or Searing Blazes, excuse me. And the cards that are the slowest in this deck are probably Flinthoof Boars. Even though they can evolve the Experiment 1. And possibly even one of these Strikers. Even though I love the Striker, the trample damage off the Striker is just really, really good. The Rancor is still something I want. So I'm going to cut just one Searing Blaze. I will submit this. We're down on creature count. Maybe Devastating Summons at this point. We don't want a full package in. Yeah, this is a great hand. We have a first turn Experiment 1. Our opponent snap keeps, though. That's never good news. And no turn play here, or turn 2 play. I actually think a Kird Ape is better here. So we'll go get the Sacred Foundry. And go Kird Ape. And tap our mana properly. Into the Nacatl. And swing in for 3. Sure, like a Voice is coming out here. Voice is actually really bad versus all of these. So I might actually just go Striker. Swing in. Because if we kick... Well, let's see. If Goblin Bushwhacker and then kick the Reckless Bushwhacker, that's 3... So it's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And he blocks the Reckless Bushwhacker. Yeah, I think it's just Striker here. But the Gaddock Teague is very weird. Yeah, that wasn't even a Voice. I just realized that. He's going to take the damage, which I think is pretty much suicide. He had to block there. I think he had to save himself 3, be back up to a 12. Because here's going to be a Kitchen Finks, and I'm not sure that's going to be enough. A Smiter. So that's even... Yeah, we just win next turn. There's no way you can block enough damage. Especially if we get another land. Oh, that's really good. So let's go get a basic mountain here. Kick. And kick. And that's, yeah, like I said, that's insane damage. He can block 2 of them and still take 5, 5, 5, 5, 6. That's 11 right there. Just 2 creatures alone. All right, so that worked out good. The Smiter is a bit rough for us to handle. I still think Fork Bolt is great in the gut shots. Flinthoof Boar still seems kind of meh to me. So does Mutagenic Growth. We'll submit this. This is going to be a hand that I'm going to reluctantly keep. We just need one more land. in 2 draws, which statistically I think that's in our favor. Plus we have a first turn Experiment 1 that we can then evolve with the Wild Nacatl. Kind of greedy here, these keeping 1 land hands. But we have action for quite a few turns. At least 2 turns. And we don't, and the Burning-Tree Emissary makes it better. Yeah, now a Searing Blaze gets very good. Gutshot would be a great draw. Reckless Bushwhacker is not a great draw. But next turn with a Burning-Tree Emissary into a Wild Nacatl would be very good. Like, Smiter here would be rough to deal with if it's a Smiter. Well, it's Alone in Arbiter. That actually hurts. I need to just get a basic land. Wow. Yeah, the Arbiter. Huh. We need to find another land now. Oh, that's awesome, though. I am definitely cool with that. Oh, no, he sees his mistake. So... Oh, that Arbiter, I think, might just win the game, just because I can't fetch up. We run a ton of fetch lands, and I actually can't pay for it. So that is just creature removal. And I can't pay for this one either. So, see if he attacks me with the Arbiter. He does. So just a basic mountain is really the only thing we can draw into. At this point, though, he is pretty far behind. He's kind of grasping at straws. Dirty. Still can't do anything until we get that very, very few basic lands in our entire deck. And he's got plenty of mana just to dish out anything else. The Vial. Yeah, kind of a weak hand without that Arbiter. The Kitchen Finks, though, is really good. I can still bolt off an Arbiter if we draw a bolt. And that's... I think at this point we just have to cast a Bushwhacker. And does he have a voice? But that's game. The Leonin Arbiter just shuts down the the fetch lands, and we get locked out. See where our basic is. We don't have a base. Basic coming up in 2 turns. The second basic would have been nice though. Burning-Tree Emissary, Searing Blaze for the Leonin Arbiter. We get back in this game, dish off some damage, have bigger creatures than what he has. The bird is going to start getting annoying with the Exalted because he can't really attack in with much. But the Gutshot could have fixed that. But it is what it is. That's why they play the Leonin Arbiter. Very, very tough with as many fetch lands we play in this deck. Anyway, this has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. We'll go to the wrap-up video. Thanks for watching. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with the wrap-up video for this week's Playing on a Budget. I really like this deck. I think that it performed phenomenally well. The Leonin Arbiter was a very, very big disappointment that there's no way we could actually fetch the lands to... but I mean, there's ways to get around that. A Forked Bolt or a Lightning Bolt in the deck, or even the Flame Slash would have got us out of that scenario. So that was just the perfect mix of cards to shut us down, especially as many 2-drops we had in our hand. But a few changes I'd make. First of all, I think Kird Ape wants to be a 4 of. As this gets, it's the more and more I look at Experiment 1 is a very pivotal piece to this deck. And the Kird Ape is going to be a 2/3 that actually makes the Experiment 1 a 3/3. And just the added benefit against Tron for another card that gets around, the Pyroclasm. The card I wasn't too impressed with, the Foundry Street Denizen. I think we cut them all. And then maybe you just put in more Flinthoof Boars because they do synergize well. But I love the Striker. I thought the Striker was a wonderful card in this deck, as it has such good synergy with both Devastating Summons and the Bushwhackers and Burning-Tree Emissary. Now, the last card I even thought about putting, since Burning-Tree Emissary is so good in the deck, is the Priest of Orbras, which is a 3-drop for a 2/1 that adds 3 red to your mana pool. But maybe that's just getting too cute. I think that possibly just going up in another land, we did seem to have problems with lands, and I think 19 lands is actually the right number. And in my opinion, it's just going to be like another mountain. Gives us another basic to tutor up. There's not a lot of, like, the Path to Exiles, we could easily run out of targets. I don't think you want to, especially with, like, the Devastating Summons. So I think that 19 lands is better than the 18, especially because of this Dryad Arbor, which the jury's out for this card. I understand why it, end of turn, you can fetch it up and then have another creature you can attack in with a kicked Bushwhacker. So there is that. But so many times we had in the opening hand, which is exactly where you don't want it. The sideboard card, of course, the sideboard's up to change just based on your metagame. I think Atarka's commands are great versus many decks. We're just running the one of, just again because of budgetary reasons. But it'd be my biggest suggestion would be another Atarka's command or 2 in the sideboard. Maybe cut down on Ancient Grudges or Destructive Revelries, possibly Searing Blazes. That last matchup, though, the kind of green-white Hatebears, I think is pretty even. They do have ways to gain life through Scavenging Ooze and the Kitchen Finks, but I think that overall, I think we have a better matchup versus that match than Burn does, as a lot of our cards can get bigger than their early chump type blocking, and they really need to get to 4 for Restoration Angel. We have a lot of ways we can actually deal with the birds after sideboard, or even the Kitchen Finks with. I think that possibly even Pillar of Flame would be a good card for the sideboard, because that just exiles the Kitchen Finks permanently, and it would do the exact same thing to the Voice of Resurgence. So the only problem with that is you can't do damage directly to the face, but it could easily be a replacement there for the Forked Bolts. Like, the Forked Bolts can kill 2 birds. It can kill, I'm thinking about, like, Soul Sisters can kill off 2 Soul Sisters. But other than that, I'm pretty sure it's not worth it just to split the damage 1 and 1. The Forked Bolts are in there for, like, Birds of Paradise to slow those type of decks down. I think Pillar does a better job. So I think that for the Kitchen Finks, I think Pillar of Flame, which, actually Pillar of Flame can do damage to a player. Yeah, Sorcery Speed Pillar of Flame would be the right play, or the right card to put in. And then we take out the Forked Bolts. Still like the Gut Shots, though. I think they're fine. And possibly even more on the Searing Blaze or Ancient Grudge. But for now, I'll just put the 2 Pillar Flames. Gives you a little bit of hate versus the Kitchen Finks, which I think is an issue with the deck. The Flinthoof Boars, now that our mana base is a little bit higher, I thought about running the Mog War Marshal, because it puts in 2/1/1s, and then you can just let that die, and it actually will trigger off a Striker one more time with the Enter the Battlefield trigger. But I think that 12 1-drops, like Goblin Guide would probably want to be here instead of Flinthoof Boars. I don't think that it's Striker and Boar. I think you need to choose between one or the other. And in my opinion, Goblin Guide as a 1-drop that also can make the Experiment 1 bigger is the way to go with this deck. So, and I'd run a full package of them with Goblin Guides. They are quite expensive, though. On MTGO, they're very inexpensive because they are in an event deck that you can get on MTGO as a 4 of in the deck for, I can't remember what the price of it is, but that's why Goblin Guides will always stick around like 5 tickets. Stick around on MTGO, as you can just get, if you were going to spend the more than 5 tickets a piece, you can just buy that event deck. So the Goblin Guide is pretty necessary, I would say, for this deck. The only other option would be Monastery Swiftspear, and the only thing that Monastery Swiftspear gets a trigger off is the Rancor, the Mutagenic Growth, Lightning Bolts, and Devastating Summons. Maybe a Atarka's Command. I just don't think there's enough spells to quite justify it. So I would say Flinthoof Boar is out, even though they're another way to evolve the Experiment 1. And maybe 3 Strikers, maybe 3 Goblin Guides is the right line, or the right number. But I would still say 4. I still think we want to see Devastating Summons each game, though. This card was very impressive. I thought that it worked very well in the deck. Atarka's Command, I guess, can be relegated to the sideboard, as I think that running this many Bushwhackers is just a one of there, just to catch people off guard, I think is fine. So we need to cut 1 card. I still want the Kird Ape. Maybe it is just down to 2 of the Strikers. That way our mana base is a lot more aggressive. But I was very impressed with this card, especially off of like a turn 2 Burning-Tree Emissary, and then, or just Cassian on turn 2 actually, and then a turn 3 Burning-Tree Emissary into a kicked card. Brought this up to what, a 5 is what we saw? Yeah, 5 just off of that combination with the Trample, which ended up being very relevant in this deck. But I think that if you don't have any budget constraints, that'd be the first little upgrade. The Bloodstained Mire can be switched for Arid Mesa just because it can go get a Temple Garden or a Sacred Foundry. I don't think that is that big of a deal, but for now, to make this a non-budget deck, I'm going to go ahead and switch it and just bring in the 2 Arid Mesas. I, however, don't really want to go up. I think that a Forest Mountain is probably what you want to do with this. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's just another Arid Mesa, and just having the 3 basic lands as targets for Path to Exile and Ghost Quarters is enough. But you are very susceptible to the Lone Arbiter, as we found out. But I think that would be my non-budget version. Instead of that many Destructive Revelries, I think a few more Atarka's Commands in the sideboard would be pretty good. Possibly like 1 more. And I think that even another Pillar of Flame, or this is where like Lightning Helix can easily go in the sideboard instead of the Searing Blazes. I do like the Searing Blazes, how much damage it does, but the Helix can come here, and then you can actually put in cards like Rest in Peace or Stony Silence in the sideboard to shut down those type of decks, like a 1 of Stony Silence. There are a lot of different cards that can go in this deck. Rest in Peace against the Dredge, and that gives a little more hate. And these are easy to tutor up. I've seen other people run the Prevent Damage, Do Damage Back to the Face because of cards like Emrakul getting more popular. The Redirect. I'll have to figure out what the card name is. It's a red and a white, and then damage that would be done to you is prevented, and then you get to redirect the damage. Let's see what it's called. Out of Khans of Tarkir. We'll find it. Tons of prevent cards in the history of Magic. Deflecting Palm. I think Deflecting Palm is a nice little addition too. And that gives you sort of a more diverse package in the sideboard. So I still like the gut shots, but possibly if we're going to be running like Pillar of Flames and whatnot, the gut shots are not the right. I just love them versus birds and against Delver. It's good versus Delver. It's good versus any birds deck. It's also good versus Young Pyromancer that can be a pain to deal with. But I think the Pillar of Flame and Flame Slash might just be better. Possibly just cut down like an Ancient Grudge. This gives us a flashback card to kill the Ensnaring Bridge. And possibly even we can cut out maybe the Searing Blazes. I still think Searing Blazes are very, very good in this type of deck. The double red might be a little bit of an issue though with the deck. So yeah, Searing Blaze. I think it's either or with Lightning Helix. And in this case, we can keep the 2 Lightning Helixes for a burn deck. The additional Atarka's Command can help prevent life gain. Deflecting Palm, really good versus Emrakul decks. Very good versus those type of decks. And then a Rest in Peace and Stony Silence gives us added hate to specific decks. Still like the Pillar of Flames, but it's all based upon, I mean, you can, as your own local metagame, you can decide what type of cards you put in. But I think if I was to run that in a non-budget version, this would be the non-budget version. I don't think there's any, I don't like Goyf in this deck over, I like the Kruin Striker a lot in this deck. And I think it actually gets the nod over Goyf, which, a 5-cent card over a $150 card. But do like the one of Rancor, like the Mutagenic Growth, and one of Atarka's Command. Yeah, this would be the list I'd run. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video series. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. I'm going to play the last matchup on my channel at YouTube/Rogue Deck Builder. So be looking forward to that. Thanks for watching.